Hey, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your opening host today, and you're going to hear a little bit more from me here in a few minutes as I answer questions live from our listening community. You see, once a week or so on Mondays, typically, we go live on Zoom in our 73,000 member Facebook group, and we take questions from anyone and everyone of all experience levels. And we do our best as an expert team of leaders and coaches in this community to answer those questions. And sometimes that turns into really good content that's very useful. So we started capturing it and putting it on our weekend updates, which is what this is. If you're listening to this episode right when it's released, hey, it's Saturday. We've just kicked off a new month too. So how about you start off the new month and your weekend the right way with some great content from the leadership team of the Silent Sales Machine Radio podcast. Now, I've been earning money from the internet as the only source of income for my family of 7 for over 20 years now. And that experience has grown into a team of others who are far more qualified than me in most cases on all kinds of other areas of expertise, including specifically the one we're most excited about for most of our new students is Amazon. There's huge opportunity there. And that's what this podcast is all about. So before we get into the content today, if you're new around here, this podcast features hundreds of success story interviews with students of ours. These are coaching students that we've coached to success. They're also proven Amazon course students, which is our flagship Amazon training course that teaches all manner of different strategies. But it starts all new sellers, regardless of where you live in the world, with the exact same strategy that's been proven and time tested over and over and over again. That's what this podcast is about. All those great success stories, along with great tips and strategies for not just Amazon success, but multiple streams of income. But we love to start those who are new with Amazon, and specifically with our replens selling model. Well, that's enough of a good intro for now. If you're new around here, hopefully you appreciated some of those updates. We've got a great Facebook group, 73,000 plus members, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Well, actually, we take Sundays off and pause the group, but you can join us and see great people from all over the world who are using the strategies we teach to grow incredible businesses. Over 1,900 success posts in that Facebook group that you can scroll through. Pretty incredible, huh? So, hey, enjoy this weekend update. These are some of the best moments from a recent live Q&A session, and hopefully it serves you very well. Hey, have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you soon. My name is Jim Cockrum. I'm the founder of this Facebook group. It's approaching rapidly 75,000 members, which sounds like a big number to some people, a small number to others. But when you consider the fact that the vast majority of the people who try to get into our group are denied entrance, we look at profile pictures. We take the questions that are asked seriously and the answers. Last thing I'll mention before we end the infomercial for the evening is our upcoming conference in Orlando. If you can't make it to Orlando, look at the live stream. If you're a little skeptical about going to an event, hey, we want you there for free. If this is your first time, especially, or maybe money is tight, we really want you there to come experience this community. There's something very special that happens every time we gather. There's about 640 people registered as I'm recording this today. It's going to be a nice group, 40 breakout sessions on all manner of topics, everything from Amazon to eBay to Walmart to multiple streams of income. Some of the most successful students in our community sharing their stories. Like one story is Kang, who left a very successful business that he built because he wanted to be home with his family. He then jumped into the proven Amazon course, built a $3 million online arbitrage replens business, completely automated it to the point where his only job is swiping down to check his stats whenever he feels like it. And he's unveiling the software that he uses to run his entire operation at this event. That's just one of 40 incredible sessions we're going to have.
We'll start with the Kickstart Bootcamp. That is a Facebook group that you can get into if you're a PAC member. It's $37 and it lasts for 4 weeks. So what we do in that Facebook group, it's limited. So you're not in front of all the people who really experience. It's all just kind of, us new people. So we can ask whatever questions come up and not worry about it. It truly is for people who really are just getting started. We go over getting your account open, getting your Keepa account open, which Keepa is the only tool that you really need. And then we'll talk about some other ones that are optional, but you don't need to get started. We'll go through finding one item, just one item, just go through one cycle of the process, figuring out how to purchase that item, where to purchase it from, how to get that on Amazon, list it, send it to Amazon's FBA warehouse, and make it available for a customer. So we go through that cycle one time in a 4-week um, class where we have 4 live Q&A sessions, one each week, with me and the rest of the group. And then we also have Q&A that we can do all day, every day in the Facebook group. And all of the materials are there available to you for working at your own pace. So it's really, we've gotten such great. I was just looking today at all the feedbacks that we've gotten about how much people have gotten out of this. And there are tons and tons of them out there, over 100 of them just in the last few uh, classes that I've been keeping track of them. So it is really something that people are getting a lot out of. It's very inexpensive and you get a lot from it. So
Yeah,
that's the
it's
Kickstart Bootcamp. Yeah.
Kickstart Bootcamp. Go to silentjimdotcom/kickstart and get
Yes.
details on it.
Like you said, the 2 days before the Proven Conference at the same place as the Proven Conference. So you can
Same
just
venue
come
in
a couple
Orlando.
of days.
Yep.
Come a couple of days earlier, get the same discount on your room. Just extend that for a couple of days. What we're doing in that workshop is we're working with people to help them build a plan, build a system that they can use to get that first foundation of, we like to say, 100 ASINs. You know, when you get 175 or 100 ASINs that you're replenishing regularly, you've got a nice, strong foundation that you can then usually be about to $10,000 to $15,000 a month by the time you get there. Sometimes more, depending on how much profit your how much your sales are each your average sale price, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, during that workshop, we sit down with you, workshop style. We all roll up our sleeves and we look at ASINs together. We look at through examples. We go through exercises of, would I or would I not choose this ASIN? Why? How does this system apply? And then how do we test this item? What does the actual testing look like? We have a 4-week test where we take you through week by week exactly what you need. We give you the tools to do all of this, so you don't have to do any, you don't have to understand how to do any calculations in your spreadsheet or anything like that. We give you that. We give you a workbook that you can keep track of where you are and where where your goal was, so you can see how far you're off and what you need to do to make up. But one of the biggest things out of that workshop that we noticed the first time we did it back in September was the value of being in a room with other people asking questions at the same time, other people making comments about what they see in that ASIN that you might not have seen or it might not have occurred to you. Huge value in that kind of a conversation. Plus, we're there with you for 2 whole days, so you're able to ask a question and get the answer right away as you're in that classroom, as opposed to other situations where you have to ask a question, wait for somebody to get back with you or your scheduled appointment to get the answer to that question, and then go from there. It really moves on a lot quicker than most other learning processes do. So we are just having a ball doing that, and I think it's just going to get better and better every time we do it. We've already added a lot more value from the last time, and I can't wait. We just love doing it.
And I love the Wednesday episodes of our podcast. Typically, are Brian and Robin Joy talking, we call it the Coach's Corner episodes. And you can go to silentjim.com/podcast, which, by the way, I don't know if you even knew this, Robin Joy. We're completely updating that page. So it's going to be far easier to navigate. You can find the older episodes and the different topics far easier. And you can refer people right to the episode you like instead of sending them to that page and making them scroll to the episode they're looking for. It's going to be so nice. We're putting a lot of time and energy into that. It's coming very soon. But yeah, the Wednesday episodes are Brian and Robin Joy, Coach's Corner, where they dive into the common questions that they're hearing. And they're doing such a great job. You guys have done a good number of episodes now. And those are my favorite episodes because I don't have to listen to me. I get to listen to you guys. It's great. Someone was asking about the difference between Keepa and Jungle Scout, which is one of my favorite soapbox questions to hit. Like, why Keepa? What's the big deal with Keepa? Go listen to podcast episode number 369. It's an older episode. It's a couple years old at this point, if not more, but I could record it today and it would be 100% spot on, as accurate as when I first recorded it. It's still, Keepa is still the only tool out there that does what we most need for the selling strategies that we teach here. They scrape Amazon's data off of Amazon.com in a way that no other tool does. So then you've got a whole host of other tools, such as Jungle Scout, which a lot of people love, Helium 10, a lot of people love it, a whole bunch of other great tools that people love and pay a lot more money than Keepa to get every month. But as a new seller, especially, all you need is Keepa, because all those other great tools that I just listed, plus many, many, many more, they're not scraping data the way Keepa does. They're using Keepa scraped data to make their tool powerful. That's pretty incredible. So this little tool, it costs 20 bucks a month. Once you know how to use it, how to look at it, and how to read it, and you'll spend years perfecting it, you'll get the bulk of it within a couple months. Let's say 75% proficient within a couple months. That other 25%, you're going to learn over several years as you experiment and play and jump into some of the advanced training and the proven Amazon course and stumble upon new features. They're always adding new little features to Keepa to make it interesting and new ways that they're scraping the data. So yeah, Keepa is the only tool that answers as accurately as possible the magic question that we'd all like to know. And Amazon doesn't tell anybody the answer to this question. And that is, how many times per month does this ASIN sell? There's a lot of tools out there that will guess at that number, but they're all total guesses. You could look at, just to use the two examples I gave, Jungle Scout and Helium 10, and listen, maybe there's some other ASIN tool out there that you like, and they're all going to give you three very different answers to how many times per month any given ASIN sells. But they're all basing their guess on Keepa data. Keepa data shows us how many times per month the rank is changing on an ASIN. And we use those rank changes to estimate the number of sales. And there's different formulas for that. But once you're good at kind of estimating, you can kind of know with enough accuracy for sure to make good inventory purchase decisions on what you should and shouldn't be testing against. And that's a lot of what our trading entails, is learning to interpret the simplest, cleanest data possible to make very quick decisions without getting lost in the weeds or relying on a tool that's just kind of guessing. Because I've seen wildly different responses. Some tools will say, okay, this is a tool and it's ranked 100,000. That means it's selling 12,000 times a month. Another tool will say, okay, same ASIN, same data. This tool is selling 500 times a month. Well, there's a big difference between 500 and 12,000, guys. Which is it? Truth is, no one knows, but we do know how many times the rank changed, which gives us a really good shot at what's that window of likelihood of how many times it sold. So no, Jungle Scout and Keepa are two very different tools. For a new seller, anything besides Keepa is overkill. And I'm I've collected a total of maybe $500 in affiliate commissions from Keepa after sending them thousands and thousands of users over the past, I don't know, 12 years. So I'm not getting rich recommending Keepa. Let's put it that way. It's just a really good tool for 20 bucks a month. And it is really legitimately the only tool you need. So hopefully that helps out our Jungle Scout versus Keepa versus anything. Someone's asking about Bqool repricing and which setting to use. I'm not going to dive real deep into the features of any specific repricer. I will say Bqool is the one that we use. silentjimdotcom/repricer is a link to the Bqool special offer they have. They're a great sponsor of our conference, so I love mentioning them. There's 5 really popular, 10 really well known and high functioning repricers out there that if you talked to the 100 people who are leadership on our team, you're going to hear 10 different answers when people say which one they use, and they all have different feature sets and such. Um, Rather than diving into the specifics, I think that might be a better one to ask in the My Silent Team Facebook group. How are you guys using it? What setting are you using?
Can you still do RA when you change to a wholesale account?
Oh, I saw that one too. I think I might know what they're
Okay.
asking.
All right. Go ahead.
Um, they might, if you're under the impression that you have to choose either private label or reselling or wholesale, and you have to commit your account to just that. No, we got people who do all three on one account. Amazon doesn't care how you're sourcing your inventory, as long as you're sourcing it legitimately, obviously. But Amazon isn't stamping your account. Oh, this is a wholesale account. Oh, this is a Replin's RA account. They don't know, don't care, right? They're just looking at, are you selling legitimate inventory? Yes or no. So we've got plenty of people in our community. For example, I just had the podcast episode that released today. I think it's number 807 is one of our students who's started with RA, OA. I think they started scanning barcodes in retail stores, made a little money, got into replens, did really well, started getting into branded bundles. Now they've got a branded bundle that sells 100 plus times, I think it was a day, 100 or so units a day of their branded bundle, which is just a bundle of different products that they assembled that make sense to go together. And they added their own value add item to it. They got it brand registered, trademarked, all that. They went through our training on how to do it right. There's a lot of little boxes to check to get into that game, but they're doing really well with it. So they're doing all three still through one account, is the point I'm making. They got some wholesale, they got some replens and RA, they got their own private label branded bundle now. They don't have to go out and reinvent the next greatest mousetrap to get a winning ASIN that belongs just to them, because they just put some stuff that makes sense and goes together along with a value added item with their own logo or brand on it. And now the important thing to point out there, because sometimes people think, oh, I could do that. I could just add a sticker, a book of stickers, right? Now, the item you add in has to be the highest value, perceived value, or actual value of the bundle. So you can't put, a sticky note in there with grandma's recipe on it, along with some baking items. You can't do that. Some people get away with it temporarily. They're going down soon enough, though, and we're seeing those kind of listings crash and burn constantly. You got to bring value to a new listing if you're going to set one up. So there's my long answer to, hey, can I do wholesale and other models? Yeah, no reason you can't. Assuming we're answering the right question there. Dave Puglisi was asking about the 1/3 rule, see if that still applies. And I'll tell you what that rule of 1/3 is. It's been around for, I don't know, 12, 14 years at this point. But the old rule of thumb was, um, if you buy something for $10, you're going to want to price it at 30, because Amazon's going to keep about $10 for fees and all the shipping and all the expenses. And the rule of thirds, we called it. You know, whatever you bought it for, sell it for 3 times that. And yes and no. I mean, I have plenty of items that we're selling it for twice what we paid and making a nice profit because they're higher priced, maybe smaller items. So, I mean, just today we had an item that $60 was our buy price, $100 was our sale price, and we're making $15 or so per sale. So it's not a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule across the board. But on the lower priced items, yeah, it kind of is as a real general rule. But the thing I do like about that 1/3 rule is it forces you to remember that just because I scan a barcode and it says $5 and I see a bigger number on Amazon doesn't mean I'm going to go make money now. If it says $5 on Walmart's clearance shelf and it says $12 on Amazon, that doesn't mean I'm going to make $7. That means I'm probably going to, at best break even because there's time and supplies and fees and shipping and a lot of things that go into it. But it amazes me how many people are shopping more than willing to pay way more than they'd have to pay if they went to a local convenient retail store near them. They want the convenience of having it to their front porch. So you can mark your stuff up. Pretty much everything on Amazon at any given time. The vast majority of the ASINs, you look at them, there's somewhere cheaper you could go buy that stuff. But there's sellers making money all day, every day because they understand how to do the math. So more than the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule, I would say something I like even better is use a good tool. I use Rev Seller on our team. You can go to provenamazoncourse.com/Rev Seller. And that shows you a tool. It goes right on top of Amazon.com. Any product you're looking at, it tells you what your profit's going to be based on what you're going to spend. And there's a good handful of other tools the same way that do similar functions where you tell it what you're going to pay and what you hope to sell it for, and it tells you what your profit is. And it just estimates it all right there on the screen for you, and a whole lot of other cool features as well. So yeah, there's the answer to that.
If I leave an ASIN and I'm run out of an ASIN, out of stock, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with that ASIN or not, do I have to close it out, or I can leave it as it is? If I leave it as it is, out of stock, will that affect my account health?
Should I delete an ASIN from my inventory? Should I remove it from my catalog if I don't intend to sell on it again? As a general rule, that makes no difference one way or the other, to my knowledge. We don't spend a lot of time doing that. Some people recommend it, some people do it. You can't do any harm, but I don't know that there's a lot of benefit to it either. It's not like it makes Amazon forget that you ever sold it and they somehow change their metrics now based on you having deleted it or removed it. To my knowledge, there's not much benefit there. You may find some experienced sellers that say that there is. So, okay, no harm done. Go ahead. You can always add it back again later if you want to. But if it's sitting there with zero inventory, sure, clear it out. No worries there. So I guess I'm pretty neutral on that question.
You said in the past that if Amazon is there, it's not advisable to jump in. But in some listing, I saw that Amazon is on and off. Like they're in there and they're off and they're in there, but they have very low inventory and they're off for a few months. And is that recommendable to be in that ASIN or avoid it at all?
Whenever I found good inventory and listed in Amazon, after a week or more, I get an email from the supplier that you're not authorized. And I'm not an authorized seller. Please remove your list. Even Amazon allowed me. So how to deal with such a situation? How should he deal with that kind of a situation, Jim?
Oh, I was going to bounce that one to you, but I'll take it. See if I leave anything out, Robin Joy. Well, here's the thing. That could be anything from a competitor to someone with too much time on their hands to who knows what random person reaching out because you're jumping on their ASIN and they don't like you there, and you just, those messages that come into your inbox inside Amazon, you just don't know. And you could get letters in the mail same way. You just don't know, is this from a legitimate, is this something that I should be concerned about or not? So what a lot of us in the community do is we've put my good friend, Mr. Jeff Schick, on retainer for a couple dollars a day. You got a lawyer who's familiar with Amazon policy, who sees all of these things all day, every day, along with his team. And his team's been built, for the most part, out of this community of former Amazon sellers, some of the great coaches on our team. Like, he's built a team of people who really know what they're doing. A lot of people who used to work in the Amazon enforcement department, they're on his team. And they'll review these. And 99% of the time, they're going to say, yeah, throw that in the trash. That's just someone being stupid. Or, yeah, you can safely ignore that, because the laws are on our side. If you have something, you're allowed to resell it. That there's laws that say if I own something, I can sell it to whoever I want. But on Amazon, is the listing set up properly becomes an issue. So sometimes you'll be on a listing that you shouldn't be on because it's not set up properly. The brand is misrepresented. The picture misrepresents the product, whatever. So there are listings on Amazon that you may end up having to avoid. Jeff can help you navigate that. Or we see a lot of these posted in the Facebook group where people will, you want to hide any kind of private information, anything you don't want out there publicly, the ASIN involved or whatever, right? But your name, address, all that, cover that up and then post it. Say, hey guys, should I be concerned? And there'll typically be people chime in and say, oh yeah, that's a scam. I went through that with my lawyer already 3 weeks ago and they told me to throw it in the trash. Other times you do need to pay attention to it, knowing that the worst case scenario, 99.9% of the time, and the reason I point this out, Robin Joy, is because anytime you say the word law or lawyer, a lot of people get like, oh no, there's like, yeah, there's laws and legal stuff surrounding everything you do all day, every day. Amazon is no exception. But 99.9% of the time, even if there is action required, it's the worst case scenario is, yeah, you need to stop selling that thing, pull it back, flip it on eBay. That's your worst case scenario the vast majority of the time. And with thousands and thousands of students over the past 14 years, the number of people where I said, wow, okay, there's actually like a legal fine involved there. Ooh, that's painful. Like, wow, they got themselves hurt there. It's like 2 or 3 incidents, a handful of permanent suspensions, which over time end up resolving typically. So total incidents that left me scratching my head and going, I'm not sure. I don't understand what just happened. Maybe, 7 to 10 out of literally tens of thousands of students at this point. So yeah, your risks are pretty minimal, but you can't just flat out ignore it and throw it in the trash. That's what a lot of people do. You'll end up getting too many complaints on your account. You do need to address them sometimes. So IP complaints from Amazon, yeah, you need to do something about those and address whatever it is. But the worst case scenario, the vast majority of the time, is just stop selling that item, go find more ASINs, which Brian and Robin Joyce love saying that. What solves that problem? Go find more ASINs. literally every replens challenge you'll run into, that's going to solve your problem.
I agree with that, Jim. There's no way we can know just by the description of your situation. There's a lot more we'd have to look at it to decide even what we would do. But those of us who have some experience and have a foundational book of business can make that decision a lot easier because it's not as much of a risk for us. We've got a lot more balance in our book of business. When you're brand new, you got 2 or 3 ASINs, get that book of business built so that if there are actually any issues that you missed, that you can tolerate that because your account health rating is up and you've got things that help you not be such a big deal. But we always say make sure you check that brand, make sure it's the right brand and
Yes.
it is spelled correctly. Make sure you are selling everything in your package that is in that picture and in that description, and make sure you're not buying from third-party sellers. That's going to take care of the bulk of the issues that you will see in that area.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. Look for that skateboard ramp of death too, is one tip we like to give on the Keepa chart. If you see the number of sellers going up to 30 and then dropping to 1, and then it crawls up to 15 and it drops to 1, making this little skateboard ramp looking thing, right, of death, like this cliff. If you see that happening a lot, you might want to investigate it. And a lot of times what's happening is the brand is selling on that listing and they don't want anyone else there. So while there's nothing they can do legally to make you stop doing it, they can make your life miserable ultimately. If it were to go to court, you'd probably win. But who wants to go to court and defend themselves against being allowed to sell on a single listing? Nobody. So just drop it and move on. We call those the grumpy brands. Let the grumpy brands have their ASINs. There's hundreds of thousands, millions of other ASINs out there that don't have grumpy brands that you can sell against. And a good way to see those is there's a lot of other sellers coming and going, buying and selling, bumping from 5 to 10 to 18, back down to 12, back up to 24. And the number of sellers constantly changing. That's a great sign. A history like that means there's a lot of people selling successfully. So my instinct is on his question, if you looked at the Keepa chart, you may see a pattern on these ASINs you're hopping on where one of the indicators that Rob and Joy and I just pointed out aren't in your favor. Like there's only one other seller and it's the brand. That's why they keep kicking you off. That's why you keep getting these letters, because the brand is trying to make your life miserable because they don't want you on their listing. And that's within their purview to do that. Although, even if Amazon lets you, I would argue it's just not worth it because, they can always amp up the ante, send you scarier letters and all that. Just move away from those ASINs. Yeah, so I think we provided some good value there. But this is a lot of what's covered in the Amazon seller training, though. A lot of the training is here's what you're looking for in a good ASIN that's test worthy. Take out any that have these features, like Robin Joy and I just mentioned, and what you're left with is, hey, there's some test worthy ASINs. Let's go buy a few units and see what happens on these things. Put them at a price we like and start having some fun.
All right,
Someone's
thank
asking
you.
about Amazon to Amazon flips. Good question. Yeah, perfectly illegal, perfectly allowed. You just don't want to use your Prime account when you're doing it. They don't want you using your Prime discount when you order inventory and then flip it back over. But you'll see that all the time. People will buy what happens a lot of times is the price will tank on one of your favorite ASINs, and rather than crying into your journal that night, you just buy up your competitors and wait for the price to come back. We see it all the time.
Does that mean to set my minimum price way above the typical buy box price for at least 3 to 4 weeks? Thank you again.
If I'm using the above the buy box strategy, which again, podcast episode 554 talks about, then yeah, I'll just set my price manually where I want it up high. I'm not using the repricer at all until I go 4 to 6 weeks without making a sale. And then I'll revisit, okay. And some people will start playing with the price within a week or two. I think Brian and Robin Joy, I think you guys do a little bit. You start playing a little sooner than I do. I wait kind of 4 to 6 weeks. And if I've got 0 sales in 4 to 6 weeks, I'm like, this isn't an above buy box winner. I thought it might be, but it's not. The 2 or 3 units that I have sitting in there, I drop them down and play in the buy box and get rid of them. Right. That's how I do it. I drop them down into the repricer, turn on my repricer, let it start playing around and maximizing my velocity and profits based on the fact that I wasn't able to sell it at the high price I was hoping for. Right. And that way I don't pay any long-term storage fees. I haven't lost anything, even if I break even. That's fine. I had a few more transactions. Amazon likes me. My health is up. I got a few extra points on the credit card, right? So there's a lot of benefits. Brian and Robin Joy went over a recent podcast episode, actually. They talk about all the benefits of just having transactions, even if you're not making any profits. Just all those transactions, there's a bunch of benefits. And I think I just brainstormed a couple more that weren't even on the list, like credit card points. I don't think you guys even hit that. I don't know if we did or not, but there's another one, right? Like
We
there's a
had to
bunch
pick
of
and
good
choose.
reasons.
There's so many, so
Yeah.
many. We had to bring it down to, I think we did 10 on that one.
Yeah, it was a great episode. It's just you want the velocity, you want the life. The journey from 0 to 1 is the hardest trip you'll ever make in this business. And after you got some momentum, just keep that momentum going. Tweak the systems, and scale slowly over time. It really feels like that commitment that Amazon made to be the everything store for as many people as possible. That's an impossible to accomplish goal. They just can't do
Yeah.
it. They can't stock their shelves with enough inventory in the 150 warehouses to have what you need available so I can have it on your porch 2 hours from now for everyone who's within an Amazon Prime area, or within a day or two for everyone who's outside of a Prime area. It's just too much. There's too many. There's a billion different ASINs out there. So as you begin to recognize these patterns for these underserved ASINs, this underserved
Yeah.
shelf space at Amazon, man, there's opportunity everywhere. So these hard rules in the sand, people like, oh, if Amazon's on it, stay away. No, if
Okay.
Amazon's on it, they're just another seller. If Amazon's coming and going, wow, that's even more opportunity.
That's even better.
Right. And the reason I like those where Amazon's coming and going is because every time Amazon shows up, typically they'll have a low price, right? And all the
Yeah.
buyers will flock to that low price. That ASIN gets a boost in the catalog. It's appearing on page 1 instead of page 40, right? Because of all the
Wow.
shopping activity. And now here it sits on page 1 and Amazon's gone. So you try to win the buy box or match the buy box is the question here. Well, a lot of the ASINs I sell on, I'm ignoring the buy box entirely. And when I first start a new ASIN, I don't want to play in the buy box. I'm going to try to play above the buy box. And if I have to go down into that buy box window of where all the other sellers are playing, I will. But you're going to have to drag me down there. And I talk about that a lot in a series of posts that I've made in the Facebook group for the past few months now. I've got over 100 examples from my account where we're selling ASINs above buy box consistently. And you can see that entire thread of all 100 plus examples by going to silentjim.com/BB70. And I'll stick that in the chat here so you guys can reference it easy enough. And I do love repricers that help you win the buy box more often. That's great. We have plenty of ASINs that are bouncing around in the buy box, and we sell those. But I love selling above buy box even more, especially when I'm looking for new ASINs. It's so fun to see those examples popping through. And I mean, just over the weekend, I've got like 5 or 6 new examples of great ASINs that are starting to pop for us. And if you want to hear more about the premise behind that whole thought process, podcast episode 554 and 555 is a good one. And 612 is another great one. That's one where Robin Joy talks about her 3-step process. Yeah, some good stuff for you there. So if you want to think through and talk about buy box and strategy, I encourage you start there. But until you've gone through the replens training and really grasp this, I kind of feel like it's kind of, I don't know, just tossing random factoids at you when you're not quite ready to receive them if you haven't been through the replens training. So I don't want to dive too deep on that. And I want to share one last thing. The reason I love the buy box coming and going, we call it a suppressed buy box, where the buy box disappears. You've seen these listings on Amazon where you go to check the price and there isn't a price. Like there's no price showing. It's like, oh, I got to click a button and then it shows me the prices. We call that a suppressed buy box. The reason I love those is because Amazon is basically saying, when they suppress the buy box, Amazon makes the choice to hide it. What Amazon is basically saying is, we don't like the price that shoppers are willing to pay for this product. And because we feel like it, we're going to hide the prices. That's what they're saying is we don't like the prices that customers are paying all day, every day on our site for this product. It's kind of like their mini tantrum, right? Just imagine a little toddler, like, I don't like this. So they're going to hide the prices. But what it means is the product is selling at a really nice price for us as sellers. So a suppressed buy box is an invitation to me to come in and make some money with happy customers who are willing to pay more than what they'd have to pay if they shopped all day online and went to 8 retail stores looking for the same thing. There's a lot of people who are super excited to pay for speed. That's my whole above buy box thing. When I'm looking for above buy box winners, I'm looking for ASINs that people are willing to pay a lot more for if they can get them really fast. And that's that's pretty much anything in Amazon's catalog. If it's a fast mover and I can test it, knowing that my worst case scenario is break even at buy box, I'm going to test that all day at a high price FBA. No reason not to test a couple units.